let's talk about the dog days of the NBA season. Okay. The last 2 weeks of the NBA season, here we are, man. This is it. Do you like what you see? Really, mostly this last week. I mean, like tonight, for example, there's a Heat Sixers game on, and I'm not watching it. Okay, I'm not watching it. I'm refusing to watch it. The game doesn't matter. Philly's locked into the third seed. Miami is going to have to go do this play-in tournament pretty much no matter what. Jimmy Butler got up for this game. Nobody else did. Okay, that's the last week of the season. Okay, these last 2 weeks, okay, they could be this. They could be cut. No, the last 2 weeks of the season could be kept on the calendar, but we could cut 8 games out of the season, take us from 82 games to 74 games. It's not a drastic move. We just cut out 8 games. What does this do? It allows us to eliminate all back-to-backs. That way, when a game like Milwaukee-Boston happens, I don't have to see on Twitter about how it doesn't matter because it was a back-to-back from Milwaukee. Okay. It was also the first night of a back-to-back for Boston, by the way. And the next night, they played their 5th game in 7 nights. So what was the night before? Their 4th game in 6 nights. Okay. So how do you like them apples? It wasn't that big of an advantage for Boston. They were tired too. They had to get up for a back-to-back too, and they played in the back-to-back. Okay. Not that big of an advantage for Milwaukee, who was also at home. So how do you like them apples? Okay, I'm done with Boston and Milwaukee. I'm done. When you cut out 8 games, you add a little bit of scarcity. The revenue, look, dude, maybe this hasn't happened for a reason, and I'm not a big boss businessman billionaire, okay? So I don't really know, and I'm not really going to pull out my Excel spreadsheet and dive into the numbers of it. Hey, I don't think you're going to lose that much money if you cut out 8 games and you add this stupid play-in tournament you have the play-in tournament, but you add this stupid in-season tournament, which now adds an extra game for the teams that actually win the tournament. And what do they win? Cash. Okay. What does that do for me, dude? And I know one of the proposals, and maybe even I said it, I think it did, proposal for the All-Star game to be more competitive is cash. Look, but the All-Star game is going to happen no matter what, and we want to see it. It's peak. It's supposed to be peak competition of the best athletes in the sport. This in-season tournament was just pulled out of some dude's ass. And look, may come back here and eat my words. Look, I'll just say this. If it sucks, scrap it, please. Don't look, and we'll give it like 2 years. If we like it, awesome. I'll come back. I'll say it was awesome. If it sucks, scrap it. Don't be afraid to scrap a shit idea. If it sucks, scrap it, dude. I'm not like thrilled about the idea of this. I'm just not. I don't get it. Why are we making the season more and more and more complex? The play-in tournament, admittedly, is good. It adds some storylines. It makes some teams that wouldn't otherwise sweat. And it gives teams like in the 9 and 10 seed, like perennial play-in team Minnesota, they've got a shot. Okay, and they've got a shot. And if you're a team like LA that's been hampered by injuries for most of the season, you get a shot at the end of the year to say, well, let's get in there. So I like the play-in tournament. I like some of the stuff the NBA does. I do. Obviously, I love it. I love the NBA. I just don't get this the in-season tournament. And as we get closer, and as we come up on next year, maybe it starts to all click, make a little bit more sense. Right now, though, I just don't. That just didn't seem like the most pressing of issues. And yeah, I think everybody was kind of hoping for something a lot closer to like cutting the season down a little bit, in the sense of, look, I don't want to see less games. I love the NBA. I want to watch more games. I want to watch as much of it as I can physically ingest with my eyes. But I want the product to be good. So if I have to, if we have to cut some BS games out in order to make the product better, then do it. Man. I don't like the idea that I can fly into another city and like sweat the idea of whether a star is going to play or not, or even just here, like just staying at home and like the Lakers came here on a back-to-back the whole time leading up to their trip here to the first day and the second day. They didn't say whether LeBron was going to play until less than an hour before tip-off. That's BS, okay? Like, I can't commit to a Spurs game. The Spurs, if you didn't know, are bottom feeders in the NBA. I cannot commit hundreds of dollars to see the Spurs on the idea that LeBron may play. Now, granted, he ends up playing in both of those games. I miss out because, well, I'm just not going to sucker up all that cash to risk seeing Lonnie Walker's comeback to San Antonio. Okay. Now, you know what? Shout out to everybody that went. Hope you all had a great time. There's a very real world in which LeBron just doesn't play and Davis doesn't play, and those tickets are worth $30 instead of $300, which has happened, by the way, in the past, and that's why I was a little scared to buy tickets prematurely. But that's everybody, right? Like, it's such a hard sell to buy tickets to these events in advance. Now, injuries are always going to be part of the game, man, and that's just part of the risk you take in enjoying live sports. But the little BS, the petty stuff, I love the addition of the 65 game minimum for awards. 65 was my number. If you go back to the last episode, this idea was either being floated or it was just, I think the idea was being floated in the lead up to the CBA ratification, or however you want to say it. And I gave a number. There was no number yet, and I gave the number 65. 65 basically means you played more than 2/3 of the season. You were a mainstay for most of the games. And it means you can't notch the scoring title. I think the scoring title minimum before was like 57 games. Okay, that's ridiculous. And I already went on this stuff last time. But yeah, we need to incentivize and encourage guys to play. So if it means sitting out because you have a left pinky toe contusion, whereas if it was a playoff game, you'd be out there and look fine. You should play. But we should also make it easier. We should cut out back-to-backs. If it means we keep 82 games, then like make the season longer. Like add a week at the front and the back of each season. Whatever, man. Just make it a little bit longer. Cut these back-to-backs, man. We've cut down on them. It's time we cut them out, because there's some guys who just won't play in a back-to-back at all, like Kawhi Leonard for most of the year. And on a smaller scale, Al Horford, guys who are a little bit older, just aren't going to welcome it. They're just not going to play on the back-to-back. If you eliminate that stipulation, they now have a way harder time finding reason to miss those games. And I said I wasn't going to go on this crazy rant, but I went on this crazy rant.